My question is to Minister of Women's Affairs. As we prepare to celebrate Suffrage Day, what improved outcomes for New Zealand women can she point to as a result of initiatives by her government?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
On behalf of the Minister of Women's Affairs, this government has made a number of reforms that have led to improved outcomes for women. For example, we've made changes to our tax system that have seen the after-tax average wage increase 2% faster than inflation over the last year, and this has put money back into women's pockets. We've also introduced police safety orders which allow police to remove an alleged violent person from the home for a period of up to 5 days. Over 5,000 of these have been issued since their introduction in July of last year, and over 80% of these have been issued to protect women.
Carol Beaumont.
Speaker, what advice has she given the Prime Minister about his stated intention to, quote, look closely at the gender pay gap of 27.5% in the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, or his commitment, quote, to take action to deal with any pay discrimination, end quote, in response to a question about the significant pay gaps in the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, Treasury, Ministry of Education and Crown Law?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, on behalf of the Minister of Women's Affairs, far be it from me to give the Prime Minister any advice. I'm sure that he is paying attention to that issue himself, but I would point out that the gender pay gap has fallen from 13% in 2008 to 10.6% in 2010, and that's the lowest it has ever been.
Carol Beaumont.
Why has the Minister moved from a goal committed to over 22 years, supported by both National and Labour governments and promoted by many, including the former National Prime Minister Jenny Shipley, of having 50% of women on government-appointed statutory boards, to a goal of 43%, as she stated when discussing this year's Women's Affairs estimates?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
On behalf of the Minister of Women's Affairs, it's my understanding that this government has maintained the previous level of 40% of the appointments being women.
Carol Beaumont.
What specific action is she taking in light of the report of UN Women in Pursuit of Justice, Progress of the World's Women 2011 to 2012, which states that New Zealand has the highest rates of physical and sexual violence against women in the OECD?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I refer the member back to the answer that I gave to the primary question on behalf of the Minister of Women's Affairs, that we introduced the police safety orders, of which there have been 5,000 issued since July of last year, and over 80% of those were issued to protect women.
Carol Beaumont.
Parliamentary. Which of these changes affecting New Zealand women does she believe to be the most worthy of celebrating on Suffrage Day this year? Scrapping the Pay and Employment Equity Unit, passing the Fire at Will Bill, which disproportionately affects women, cutting successful family violence programs and creating uncertainty for girls' self-defence program, or decreasing the number of women in leadership positions as highlighted by the Census of Women's Participation 2010?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't agree with any of those premises, of those suggestions, but I would like to point out that the Pay and Employment Equity Unit was established in 2004 with a 5-year plan of action, and this government at the end of that 5 years ended it.
Question number 11, Pestar.